Do you run your own high-level agency? If you do, you'll know how important it is to provide good technical support for your sub-accounts. Now, Go High-Level support is there, but it consumes a lot of time because you've got to sit in a queue and wait, and you're always the in-between agent between your sub-account users and the high-level support. Now, there are third-hand products that you can pay for, but they usually cost a lot of money. But just think of the actual value if you can have a chatbot on the left-hand side or the right-hand side that is trained on the Go High-Level knowledge base that sits on every sub-account. It sits on the actual Go High-Level platform, so you don't have to scroll away. It sits in here and can answer any questions relating to high-level. It either sits on the left-hand side, it's totally customizable, or you can have the ones that sit on the right-hand side. This is just another example. By the end of this video, I will show you how you can create one like this totally from scratch. I'm going to go through the custom code, how you can download it and edit it and where to put it in. Not only that, we're going to go through an entire N8N workflow, and of course I'm going to give it to you for free to download at the end. A couple of workflows in here that you can get, download, and you'll understand how important the system like this is and how the training works for these little agents in here that sits up in your high level. By the end, I'll give you the link to this awesome GitHub repo that explains it all, has more videos, and you can take this and make it your own, because providing good support is super, super important in high level when you have a lot of sub accounts. So come with me, enjoy this. I run my own agency. I know the drags and consuming that support has, and that it is important to offer. So it's going to be a fun build, and it's going to be super valuable, especially as you start scaling. So let's get into this, see how it works, see how you can build this out for yourself. I'm going to do my best to quickly explain what it is, go through it, show you the N8N workflow, and just give you the code so you can go out and play with yourself. But by the end of all of this, you should be able to have a website chat module that you can put into your high level. And I got the two examples. This is the one on my agency, and I like to put mine on the left here, just because some things get blocked up, especially with contact imports, and there's buttons in here on the right hand side that gets blocked by the other chat widget. But I have mine on the left, and you can still access the agency support, and there's a chat bubble that pops up. Hi, how can I help? And all of my clients always have the same problem. How do I add my own domain to my sub account? And then while it goes out and thinks about this, I'll show you the other option. This is the one, and you can edit it and make it your own. I'll show you the colors in the CSS and how to change it out. You're just going to change your own variables. But there's also the one, and I've just added it onto a blank website. This is nothing. It's not advertising, so please don't get confused. But it just shows it's on the right-hand side, the widget. And this is the one given to you by N8N. So there's not much customization, but you'll get the code for it, so you can kind of change the colors as well. You can start chat, and it's kind of like ask the same question, right? So what this does is it's connected to the N8N in the background, and we'll go through it, go through a little bit about what RAG is, just so you understand. But it's pretty accurate on this. What I like about this one, I've not edited my other one really well, but this sets up the information a lot clearer, so it's a bit set out and it displays it a bit nicer, whereas the one I have in my high level agency is just one big chat and together. So I don't know, do whichever one you prefer, but they're pretty good, they're pretty accurate, because they are trained from the high level documentation. Now, why is this important? Why do we need to do RAG? And what is all this RAG N8N chat module stuff? And that simply comes from, and I'll just bring this up for a second. And again, this is just open router, and it just explains kind of the things about the size and the context of large language modules. Now, you'll see in here, for example, the communicator, which is new and out. It's got a context length of 63,000 tokens and characters. Likewise with entropics, it's got the 201. And if you look up Gemini, you will see that it's substantially bigger, 1,000,000. And as the large language models grow, these will grow as well. But all that means is that we have a limit of information, characters that we can input into a AI chat module. So if you have a large knowledge base, like the Go high level documentation or any other support documentation, for example, you will see that it's hard to just feed all of that every time to a large language module. You'll use a lot of tokens, and again, imagine if you inputting your millions of tokens all the time and output, it will add up to cost and usage. So what happens is you use a thing called Rag. Now don't overthink it, don't overcomplicate it. Now just move my head out of the way, maybe to this side for a second. And try my best to make a little presentation on it. I don't think too much of this, but it just means that at the end of the day, if we have a large database, or we have a large knowledge base, we are going to chop that knowledge base up into smaller pieces, put it into a database, and with the help of a good workflow, we chop it up into small chunks. The chunks has got a bit of references to it, so when we ask a question between the large language modules, it kind of gets the small chunks, figures out which one is the best description, and then retrieve it. So what we'll go through, and I'll just show you through in here, we're just going to use N8N, and we're going to crawl a bunch of websites, extract the data from the websites, because there is going to be lots of data. We're going to chop that up into little blocks, and we're going to put it into a database store, which is called Superbase, and it chops it up, puts it into blocks, has a bit of an indexing around it. And then when we have our actual chatbot, which is these ones I showed you, if it has a question, it goes and finds those little index small pieces, figures out which one is the best answer, and then works it out from there. Okay, so it uses kind of like a reference guide to chop out small pieces and get the bigger ones. And this is kind of the bit of the flow, right? So we're going to create a vector store, which is just your database store with all the smaller chunks chopped up into it, and your large language module is going to be OpenAI. We'll be able to go backwards and forwards and piece things together as you need to. And this is just the workflows we're going to look at. This is one workflow that's going to chop it up because it's going to be a website. There's going to be lots of websites. You kind of just have to chop it up in two bits so it doesn't get overloaded. And this is just literally the chat agent that connects to your vector store. So as you can see in here, we'll go through it really fast. You can just download it by yourself, but it chops everything up and then it just puts it into the database and just retrieve it through. So we'll go through it, see how it works, so you can have the two codes for the left-hand side and the right-hand side. They look different, they react different, and it's just up to you how you like it. At the end of the day, you'll be able to get it and you can just paste it straight away into your high level support area, or you can use it for a website. And again, you'll be able to use this for anything you need to. So let's go through how I created all of these and what they kind of mean. All right, so I'm just going to quickly go over this workflow just so you understand what it is. At the end of the day, you can just download it or you can modify it as much as you want to. I modified someone else's one to work for this. But all it does is it's just going to go find all the websites from a specific URL, and it's going to scrape them for the text only, and then it's going to put that text documentation into our database, which is called Superbase. So don't overthink this too much, and I'll really try to summarize as much as we can. But because there's going to be a lot of scraping and data in and to and from, you need to have a good system. So if you're going to self-host N8N or run it on a virtual instance, it probably needs to be a bit of a bigger machine. Now, this is only going to be a workflow you're going to run once. You might run it later on again if you need to. but you can create a bigger instance, run it, and then delete the instance because you won't need this again. Okay. Um, and all it does is it's just going to go through the entire database and or the knowledge base of Highlevel that they created for the support documentation and put it in the Victor store. So therefore we need a Superbase account, and it's just a database account. So you can register for free at superbase.com. You're going to go and create a new project. Once you come into the new projects, you're going to click into it, and within the settings, you're going to get a URL. I'm not going to show you that. You're going to get an API key. You're going to copy them over. We're going to come in here, we're going to double click on this, and we are going to add them in here as a new account for you. The next thing we need is an OpenAI account. Now, this is not a ChatGPT account, but rather you need to come to platform.openai.com. You need to put $5 or $10 onto your account. So register, put some money onto it, and then you'll get an API key for here as well, which I won't show you. Don't want to share it, but you're going to come in here and you're going to double click because that's going to be our large language module. You're going to fill out your API key in here. Now, these are specific RAG modules that we're going to use within our vector ragging agent. So what this workflow does, we'll just go through all of it. It's, like I said again, it's going to scrape the entire knowledge base of Highlevel support. Now, all you have to do is look up Highlevel support, but it's literally called help.gohighlevel.com/support/solutions. So this has got all the, it's literally called knowledge base in here, kind of all the how-tos, how to do things, what things are, how to set it up. Okay, so how would our little workflow do you know that this is a URL to scrape, and then when you click into this, that here's a URL to scrape, but there might be something down here as well. How does it know all that? Well, there's a thing called a sitemap.xml, and thank you for Highlevel for actually setting it up. But all it is highlevel.com is the website you have, and most have it /sitemap.xml. And when you bring it up, you will literally see every little URL from within the actual knowledge base. Okay, so it contains all these things in here. So now all we need to do is build a workflow where we go in here and we find the URLs. Okay, that's all the first step is going to be. So let me explain how this works. So you have our workflow in here. The first step is going to be a manual trigger, and when you come in here, this is just an HTTP, so it pretends to be a bit of a browser, and it comes to this website, the XML side, and download it. Now you can download the actual XML files and then edit and change it. There's a different way of going through it. I'm just doing a basic request where I'll get all these through, and what we'll actually do is we'll make sure we go through this one step at a time. So I'll just quickly show you how that works and what it looks like, and I'll map every module as we go along. So literally all it does is it goes to the website and gets the data extract for it. Now, this is what I mean. We need a bigger machine for it because it gets a whole bunch of stuff in here. So we'll bookmark that one real easy in there. Then from within there, we are just going to extract all the words in between. So come in here quick. So you can see it's in between the lock brackets, right? So that's all it does. And again, you could do this with Java code. You could do this with anything that you want to download the files. Lots of different ways of going through this. I use this because I built this for something else as well. But all this does is it just extracts data between the text for us, and we're just looking for links in here. So let's go through here and we're just going to say execute this step. So it looks for the CSS selector, and then it actually goes out and finds all those pure HTML, HTTP requests. So I'm just scraping from the previous, looking for the link keys. That's going to be plain text I want to get returned. So all it does is just some data editing. So we're editing some data, scraping, editing. Now all I'm going to say is because each one of these are going to be an individual task. Let me remove this out for a second. Because each one of these are going to be an individual task. So we're going to have to get it to scrape this website, then scrape this website, then scrape this website, then scrape this website. We're just going to break it up quickly. So this is where the splitter come from. And we can just run that. You can see we have one batch with all these in here. And when we go and execute it, you'll see it's going to create a separate action, a separate batch for all of them. And there's 2,524 websites as such. Now, this is the database creation tool is what takes up memory, which takes up a lot of space. It now needs to go through and take each one of these sites, scrape it, kind of like we did in here. Okay, so we're going to repeat this process again, scrape it, but then the data that we found, we're going to put into the vector store. I'll just show you. We'll keep going through this and you'll understand how it works. This is just a little duplicate thing. So all this does is it removes any duplicates for us. And I don't think there should be any because we're scraping from the XML sitemap. Yeah, so there's nothing, all of it got scrapped. Now, this little function in here, so that just means when we do our scraping, so if we are going to scrape this all out at once, it's going to take 2,525 websites, jam it in there, scrape them all at the same time, and you're probably going to, number one, do things like it's going to fall over, your system's going to fall over. If you scrape other websites, you're going to get spammed. So we need to just build it out where it does batches, and the good batch selection here is 10 at a time, so that's 10. And once it's done with the 10, it will do the next 10, and then we'll do the next 10. Okay, and this is all this little part does, is it takes the 10 amounts and then pushes them to the bottom. Okay, so don't overthink it, overcomplicate it. And we actually don't have to go through all of these too much, but all it does is it takes all these and then it takes every single one and it just extracts it into 10. So what I can do is I just delete the little link here for a second, and you can see what it does when we go execute this little step in here, and you'll see how it goes through. So it takes all that and it does batches of 10 and goes through and goes through. So it's going to fail in here because I disconnected this, and that's okay too. So you'll see it just does these loop of batches of 10. So it just means it sends 10 at a time. Okay, so don't think too much about it. Don't overthink about it. We're just scraping it out. So it's going to send a new path to us and it's going to be the link. Okay, so it sends those links and sends to this workflow in here. We'll connect this one up now. And we'll just go pin some data in here. So let's go execute in here. And what you'll see is we'll just pause this in here and I'll just add some bits into it. So I'm just going to go edit this and I'll just put a path in here, and it will just be one of the pages in here, the home page. So let's actually go and find a better page quickly. So something is really good. Let's come through and find what's good to show. Connecting a personal inbox. Scrape that, and then we'll come back in here. So just show you that the path it's going to select, and we're just adding some dummy data in here for it. And just save that. So just added a little path in here. So just so we can go through, and all this now it's going to do is it's going to take that website. It's kind of the same flow on the top. We're going to take it. It's going to extract the entire website, but it contains all the different tags. So it contains the HTML tags, the link tags. So it has a bunch of tags within here. Now we don't need all this. We don't need to know the meta information. We don't need to know all of those. We just really need to know the plain data of explaining how and what this works. So that's what the next step does for us. So we're going to come in here. This is just going to be the same as in here. We're just going to limit what we want, and we don't want any things like script styles, footers, navigation, any forms like that. We just want kind of a watered down version from what we get, and we're just going to hit that in there, and you're going to see it's going to take that website, and it just looks a bit better in it. Okay, so you can see in here it talks about the two-way sync, um, how Outlook works, how Gmail works. So it's all in there. Okay, so now how do we add this into our vector store? And again, this is going to be the next part. It's going to come up in here, just a bit more cleaning up the document. So this cleans up the new lines and it trims it out a bit better. So it's just a little bit of a script to take out the extra parts again. Okay, so we'll just run that one and I'll come back to it. So literally all we're doing is we're taking one website, we're scraping the content. It's going to be pure HTML. We're going to delete some tags. Then we're taking a script and we delete some more unnecessary data. So we get a plain document as much as we can, just plain text. Okay, so you can see it's even cleaned up a little bit more into that. Okay, so we're cleaning, scraping, cleaning, we're checking for duplicates again, just to be safe. And then all this next part is going to do is it takes up all our data, and I won't run this one so it doesn't confuse the other vector store. And then it takes all that data, and when I come through here and we make chunk sizes. So keep this on the 30 and it just going to trim that down. And this entire module here chops up everything for us into little chunks with actual references. So that's all it says is the embedding that we remember how it works, the data loader, which is the bit that takes it out and cuts it up. So you don't need to worry about all or any of these really. All right, so there's the chunk size and the overlap. So chunk size just means if we have a massive amount of data, it's going to cut that up into 1,500 text sizes, and there's also going to be text sizes that overlap 200 sizes. So it's just a way of cutting it up. So you don't need to worry about all that. But all this does, again, I'll just go through it. It might sound repetitive, but I also want you to understand that all it does is it just gets website URLs for us. It then scrapes it, cleans it, chop it up, and put it into a database store for us. Okay, literally all that entire workflow does. And just because there's going to be a lot, 2,000 of it, we are just going to limit the rate at what we do it. And this is this module in here, very important module. Okay, hope that all made sense. That is how to add things into the database, and you just have to do that one time. That is it. So next I'll show you the chatbot part of it, how we're going to retrieve information from this now, and I'll go in the next workflow. All right, so now let's figure out how to do the chat part to it. So it's the communication backwards and forwards. How do we retrieve data from it? And N8N has made it really easy with the AI agent node in here. Now, there's two in here because we have our two modules where we want to use either the chat function for us in here, or we're going to use the webhook function, which kind of works the same way. So when you come in here, we're going to go configure it, and you need to configure and connect your same vector database store. So it's a matter of going through in here, leave all this as is. All I'm saying is get the related chunks of the official Go Highlevel documentation, which I have that in here, and that just gives that information when to use this tool. But you need to connect your Highlevel account, your Superbase account, and you need to connect your OpenAI account for either and for both of them. And then if you just want to use this version within here, all you need is this one URL in here. And let me just go back to that one again. So it's just going to be the check version in here because this is something native that N8N actually built in. It has the chat module within here that you can use and test and play around and then put into a chatbot within like here. And if you double click on it, you'll see the settings. You can add authentication to it if you want to, but you're going to need this URL. All right. So copy this and save it somewhere. This is going to be the N8N chat URL. It's going to be different than our webhook URL, which we'll use for this one in here. Now, it's going to come back in here. All this means is once we get data come in, so it's going to, the chatbot's going to connect to this module. It's going to send your request through to the AI agent, and this says you're a helpful high-level assistant. You are going to use the Superbase tool and extract some data from it. And that's all that does in here. So it's going to get a question. The AI agent with N8N is going to get used to answer questions, and it's going to extract things from the database in here. So it all happens in the back end. All we need to do is have that put in, and it's all linked up and ready to go. Likewise with this one, this just works via webhook because this tool in here actually sends this question as data into here and then does its magic and then sends a reply out. So I'll show you some information of I'll show you the ones that we just did and what that looks like. So let me go back in here quickly. So just before we go, save that URL, then double click on this. You need to make sure if you're going to test it, you use this. Once you're ready, you're going to use the production one, okay? And you're going to copy that and then make sure this is turned on. So save those two somewhere and I'll show you where to put them in the actual code that you're going to download and put onto your website. You can use this for anything, by the way, but I'm showing you how it works for Highlevel because it's got a good knowledge base. Okay, so let me show you what those questions I just did looks like. So this is the one I just did when I did the question in here, but all it is data comes in from our webhook. It then takes it and it actually goes out, scans our memory to see if we've done it again, sends it to OpenAI, then sends it to our database, query, add my own domain module, and it finds a bunch of data from there. Okay, so a bunch of stuff gets found from it. Then it takes all of that, passes it back to OpenAI, and it writes it pretty. All right, it's literally everything it did all in once. And once it's done in there, it takes all that and then it just sends it back to our webhook, which is going to be our reply in here. Okay, so I showed you how those look different. Now this I've on purpose chose just one long format in there. You can make it look like this if you want to. So it's totally up to you. You just got to change the format output. Okay, so the format output can be HTML with new line variables. This one I just chose to be plain text, the one we're on my face over here. So that's basically just a retrieval system. So it goes out, it gets some information. The AI agent goes and looks in the vector store, stitch it all together, sends it back in there and comes up with an answer and then sends it back. It's really as easy as that. So once you have the complicated workflow done and dusted, these ones really become easy. So that's kind of the total backend. Now, it sounds very complicated. You might have to do it a couple of times if you want to understand it, but this works great for anything, especially if you want to build a support agent in it. A lot of different software like this has support documentation. Like even just N8N has it. I think it's docs.n8n. N8N docs. And it's kind of the same thing. So all the different softwares got different websites like this that you can just scan out and create documentation for it. This works really well with Highlevel because we have that chat widget in there and ready to use. Now, how do you use this? Where do you put it in? And I'll show you where to find the code for this, where to find the code for this, and where to find the two blueprints to download. Now, if you want all of this, I'll show you where the link is. Just remember there's the small mentorship program, which actually gives you unlimited Go High Level as part of the many other things that I give, including SMSs, cold emails, niche snapshots. So it's really a lot in here that you get, and you'll actually see in the classroom is really active with lots of products, voice AI products, N8N modules, and make modules really coming out of everywhere. Lovable vibe coding, mini SaaSes, email systems, scraping, marketing. There is a what I add about 50 hours of experts that come and do sales training, and I paid about $7,000 for the course. So it's really massive in here. But if you don't want that one, there is the total free community, and I'll be in here in the classroom, and I'll show you where to get the full repo for it. So it will be a GitHub link with the video, and it will tell you where you can get your files from, where to download it from. The JSON file will be in here to import into N8N. The RAG version, both of them will be able to download. All you have to do is get your either the left hand one or the right hand one text in here, copy all that text, and then replace your URL. And I'll show you quickly in here. We got the right hand text in here. And the same with the left hand one. We'll always have URL webhooks in here that you need to put in. And it's just a matter of coming to Go High Level, coming into company, white label, custom JS code, and pasting it in here. And the chat widget will pop up either on the left hand side or the right hand side. But the full explanation is in here in the actual cool free repo as well. So lots of free stuff in here. Yeah, there's so much in here, including this 5-day free course. The classroom is actually packed with a lot of extra free stuff in as well. I mean, there's everything from cheap high level free course to free massive courses, automations that really kick ass, mini SaaSes. But the pay community is probably the place to go. But let me know what you think. Like this, comment it below, and I really hope you found value within this.